Next, item 1A, review, discussion, and possible action on the licensing and testing 2019-21 strategic plan. An update of the licensing and testing strategic plan items can be found on page 166. Justin will provide us a quick update on the status of the various items. Justin?
Thank you, Jim. So there's no new target dates we're seeking at this time. I'll just quickly run through our items. Item 1.1 is complete. That's on page 166, as Jim said. Item number 2, we continue to release classification determinations, basically quarterly, and that continues. Item 1.3, we are actually rolling out the B2 license classification that already David spoke at length about. We are accepting applications now as of June 1st, and the test will be ready to go. We've been saying August 1, but actually I learned recently that we do tests on Wednesday, so it's actually going to be August 4th will be when the test will be available. Item number 1.4, Mike probably will give you a little bit more detail in his strategic plan update, but our regulations for AB 2138 regarding our criminal background review have taken effect, and that was effective of May 3rd. Moving to the next page on 167, item 1.5. Our work internally as staff was completed last year, and most recently a bill was introduced that Mike will probably speak a little bit more about, SB 607, which would increase our bond amounts to $25,000. Item 1.6 is looking at outsourcing exam administration. I'll not touch on that because that's actually a separate agenda item, but we continue to be on course with that plan. Item 1.7, we continue to update our website with the IT division and the public affairs division, and just try to clean as many items up, make it a little less confusing, less wordy, and we continue to do that. Item number 1.8, we have not yet begun. We'll be looking at that this fall. Moving to page 168, item 1.9, we are continuing to create online content with the public affairs division. That's an ongoing project that we continue to do. Item 1.10, we're very excited about the public data portal that was released. In addition, online payment and license lookup functions are working well. I communicate with our licensing schools frequently, and there's no concerns on providing that information and getting that data downloaded. Number 1.11, we're continuing to update our protocols with our call center. We're also very happy. Recently, the IT division was able to give us a program called Jabber, and that enables us, regardless of where we're working, for all of the units to be able to manage their license lines. So when the call center needs to refer a call to somebody else for more detail, that's becoming much more seamless, which we're very happy about. And finally, item 1.12, we continue to look for surveys and conduct feedback on who our subject matter experts are. We're also excited that we're able to hold remote workshops. And so for our occupational analysis, we're doing it very similarly as how this is done on WebEx. And when we're actually going into doing our item banking, we're able to do that in a 2-center location here in Sacramento and in Norwalk. And that completes my update.
Great, thank you, Justin. Any board members have questions or comments? All right, Shelley, anything from the public?
I am not seeing any requests at this time.
All right, thank you. Item number 2 is an update on outsourcing our exam administration. You can find an update for the board's exam outsourcing project on page 171. As a reminder, the board voted in December of 2019 to outsource its exam administration. In 2020, the board pursued and received needed legislative approval to outsource exams, and now the exam units are working to transition to an outside vendor. Staff met with the Department of Consumer Affairs Office of Professional Examination Services, and after conducting a review of DCA's vendor, PSI, staff concluded PSI exams can meet the board's needs and began the process of joining the DCA. Master contract, that process is ongoing. Parallel to that process, staff are working with DCA to set up supplies and booklets for the various exam sites throughout the state, refining procedures for PSI exams to follow, and developing a portal for PSI and CSLB's IT systems to communicate for scheduling, result, and statistical purposes. Based on the current progress, staff anticipates Bay Area candidates testing at PSI centers January 2nd, 2022, and in spring 2022, fully transitioning all applicants statewide to PSI for examination purposes. While all this is occurring, staff will be winding down facility leases and addressing any staff transition issues. Until this process is complete, we will provide a progress update on these efforts at each board meeting. That concludes my update, and Justin is available if the board has any questions. Anything for Justin? Seeing none. Shelley, anything from the public?
Not seeing any requests at this time.
All right, thank you. Our last item, number 3, is an advisory committee update on women in construction. Moving to item 3, please turn to page 175. As you know, in the fall of last year, our board president appointed Mary Teichert and myself to oversee staff outreach efforts to promote women participation in the construction industry. CSLB partnered with the California Capital Women's Business Center and the North State Building Industry Association to put on a 3-part seminar designed to assist women and minorities in entering the construction industry. That initial effort successfully wrapped up last night. Board member Teichert did a wonderful job moderating all 3 sessions, and we both hope it will lead to many new licensees. Mary, do you mind sharing your thoughts on the events with the board?
Thank you, Jim. Yes, I appreciated the opportunity to have those conversations with the public and with several fantastic women and minority existing contractors. So I think the learnings and the lessons that were shared by the groups in the panels were helpful to the folks who attended. I think our next horizon is to do more research on what are some of the barriers and obstacles to additional people deciding to go become licensed contractors in their own right, and to make the next set of things available. But I think this initial set of outreaches was terrific. And I also want to give a shout out to Justin Paddock and his efforts to continue answering each question for each person. Each person on the panel was not only able to listen to the discussions we had, but Justin also made himself available after the panels to address specific situations. So I thought they were a good, successful start, and I'm looking forward to the next things we do in this opening up of the contracting community to all of the people that would be wonderful additions to it. So thank you for getting that rolling, Jim.
Thank you, Mary, for doing a great job. It really, I think last night was over 160 participants, and the others were just as well attended. So reach out was wonderful. In the coming weeks, the partnership will be discussing next steps, and we encourage anyone to provide us feedback on the outreach opportunities. Any board comment? All right, Shelley, anything from the public?
I am not seeing anything at this time.
All right. And just as an aside, I just want to congratulate our new leadership team, all women, Susan, Mary, and Diana, going forward. So this concludes the licensing items on the agenda. Thank you, David.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Justin and Jim. The last items on today's agenda are specific to legislation. I now turn it over to Legislation Chair Augie Beltran.
Good morning, everybody. Before we get started, I want to let you all know that I do have a conflict on item 4D, SB 727. At that point, when we get to item 4D, I'll be handing it back over to David Delatorre, and then he can finish out the legislative part of our meeting. And also, congratulations to our new executive board. It's awesome. So with that, number 1, we're going to review, discussion, and possible action on the legislation 2019-2021 strategic plan. The first item is on page 181 of your packet. Chief Jay is going to update us on the legislative division strategic plan. Chief, please clarify item 3.5 as it relates to home improvement stakeholders meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Yes, item 3.5, it does indicate that there was going to be a May meeting, and I just wanted to let folks know that that meeting did not wind up happening. But I do want to, Chair, if you don't mind, I do want to run through each of these strategic plan items quickly just to give an update. And there are no target dates to report here. Item 3.1, this is just our opportunity to collaborate regularly with industry on legislative ideas. We did a big meeting right before the pandemic in 2020, and we wanted to let the board know that we're planning another stakeholder meeting to discuss new legislative ideas late this summer. And that actually does tie into several of these other items. So I'm going to go out of order quickly here. And just to let everyone know, item 3.5, the home improvement contract requirements, and item 3.7, the license experience requirements. These are legislative ideas that we can develop through that stakeholder meeting. So we'll look forward to discussing those. Going back to item 3.3, this is basically half done. We were able to get some disaster-related protections in SB 1189 last year, the B2 remodeling bill. The issue of reviewing hazardous substances certification requirements will be a great discussion item for our next legislative stakeholder meeting. Moving quickly back to item 3.2, I will have an update on our workers' comp bill in our next section. Item 3.4, multiple qualifier responsibilities and bonding requirements. This is half done as well. The qualifier bond is proposed for an increase in a bill we'll discuss next section. And the multiple qualifier responsibilities is another concept that we can bring to stakeholders at our next meeting. Item 3.6, updating the penalties. That's basically done. We have AB 569, which we'll discuss next section. Item 3.8, the long-awaited fee increase. We'll discuss that next section. And that is what I had for the update on this item, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chief. Requires no action. Any comments from board members? I see no hands. Shelley, any comments from the public?
I also see no hands, nor do I see any requests in the chat or Q&A.
Wonderful. Number 2, update on CSLB sponsored bills. AB 246 Quirk, contractors, disciplinary actions. We're on page 187. The legislative bill analysis of AB 246. It is a CSLB sponsored bill that would make a licensed contractor's unlawful dumping of construction debris a cause of disciplinary action against a contractor. The board has a support position on this bill. Chief, do you have any updates?
Nothing much to add to what's in the packet, other than I am scheduled to testify in support of the measure at the Capitol on Monday in Senate B&P. I'm excited to go back to the Capitol. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Okay, are there any comments from board members? I see no hands. Shelley, anyone from the public?
I see nothing as well.
Very good. We're on AB 569 Grayson, contractor civil penalties, letters of admonishment. We are now on the review of Assembly Bill 569, which can be found on page 188. The CSLB sponsored bill increases the maximum civil penalty CSLB can assess against a contractor for most violations to $8,000 and to $30,000 for specified violations that include licensees contracting with an unlicensed contractor. It also authorizes CSLB to issue a letter of admonishment for more than one violation at a time. The board has a support position on this bill. And Chief, do you have any updates on this particular bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Same deal as the last bill. They are both scheduled for Monday at the Capitol. One item actually I'm just thinking about on this bill, I don't think we've talked about, just so everybody is aware, when those fees go up in statute, we will need to do regulations because we have a long regulation with our maximum fee ranges, and we will have to adjust those, just so everybody knows. And that's what I have for that CSLB sponsored bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. This is a status update only. No further action is required from the board. At this time, I will take comment from the board or the public. I don't see any hands on the board. Public, Shelley?
I'm not seeing any either.
Okay. The next one is SB 216 Dodd. Contractors Workers' Compensation Insurance Mandatory Coverage. Now we're on page 189, SB 216. This is a CSLB sponsored bill that would require C8 concrete, C20 HVAC, and D49 tree service contractors to have a certificate of workers' compensation insurance policy on file with CSLB in the first year, and for all contractors by 2025. The board has a support position on this bill. Chief, do you have any updates on this bill?
Yes, so some somewhat unfortunate news to report on this one. The author's office did inform us on May 22nd, Saturday, that they have chosen to take up this measure next year. The legislature did put a limitation on the number of bills that can be moved this year to 12, so it required the author to shift some priorities. For perspective, authors might usually introduce twice that many, 12 bills was the cap. They usually do twice that many. So you will see in the next section that this appears to have happened to a lot of bills this year. But for everybody's awareness, all indications are that they do intend to move this bill next year. So we are still optimistic. Thank you.
And we are on the ground floor for next year, Chief?
That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you. Is there any board comment on this bill? I see no hands. Any public comment?
Augie, you know I couldn't go without just saying something about SB 216. I hope that the legislature takes it up, and I hope this board continues to press this issue. I think it's a very important issue for consumers. It's a very important issue for contractors that are doing it the right way. And it's I'm disappointed that it got pulled, but optimistic next year it gets through quickly and with our support.
Thank you for your comments, Kevin. Just as an aside, this legislature had almost 2,600 bills that were introduced within the first month. And it has been a very cantankerous time at the state legislature. And in order to move the really important, the most important bills, many of them that the leadership decided that each would get 12 bills apiece. But I will tell you, this was a very, very popular bill in the industry, and there were plenty of letters of support. So yeah, hopefully SB 216 gets its legs in the next cycle. We now move on to number 3, update on previously considered pending legislation 2122. Now we're on page 191 of your packets. All of the bills in this section have been previously reviewed by the board at its March 2021 meeting. As a result, I'm asking staff to briefly go through the bills in this section on the agenda and provide any relevant updates on these measures the board should be aware of. The staff summaries of all of these bills in this section on the agenda are on pages 191 through 204. As these are status updates only, there will be no further action required. But feel free to ask any questions. I think we'll ask questions at the end of Chief's brief status report from both the public and the board. So go ahead, Chief.
Yes, I will try to be quick since the board has been apprised of these measures at the last meeting. 484, I'll just go right in order here. 484 regarding alarm companies. The board remains at a watch, but nothing more to address than what's in the packet. The bill was amended to address our concerns. AB 646, the board did support this measure relating to removing expunged convictions from the website when appropriate, but this bill did not move out of appropriations. That's gonna be a theme today, you'll see. AB 899, this bill to raise the $500 exemption that the board did vote to oppose did not move out of committee and is now a 2-year bill. AB 1026, the board does not have a position. It was here because it involves fee reductions for armed forces. The package says it might move forward, but it wound up staying in appropriations as a 2-year bill. AB 1124, nothing to add to what's in the packet. We were happy to report that we did get our concern about this bill addressed. It was amended, and so there's no further action needed. AB 1129, Home Inspector License Law, nothing to add to the packet. It is a 2-year bill. AB 1136, the board doesn't have a position on this bill making pay solicitors financially responsible to harmed homeowners. But it did not move out. It was actually held in appropriations. Yes. So moving on to AB 1386. The board does not have a position. Again, it was here as an FYI about fee reductions for armed forces. It was also held in appropriations. SB 304, another bill to raise a $500 exemption. The board did vote to oppose it. It did not move out of appropriations and is now a 2-year bill. SB 430, SB 772, the last two on this list, they are very similar. They dealt with removing civil penalty burdens on small businesses. One was held in appropriations, the other remained in the initial policy committee. So that is a theme for this year, and that's the update, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Chief. Are there any questions from the board at this time? I see no hands. Shelley, do you see any hands from the public?
I do not. No hands and no requests for the chat or Q&A.
Thank you very much. We're now on number 4. Review, discussion, and possible action on 2122 pending legislation. Please turn to page 205 of your packets. The board has not previously considered the bills in this section of the agenda. On some of these measures, staff has made a recommendation for the board's consideration. We're going to start with AB 830 Flora, Business Department of Consumer Affairs Alarm Company Act, Real Estate Law. AB 830 is on page 207, which is an omnibus bill by the Vice Chair of the Assembly Business and Professions Committee. What do you got, Chief?
So AB 830 on page 207, yes, you heard alarm companies and real estate. What on earth is going on? Well, this bill doesn't currently affect CSLB. We did put it here as a placeholder because the word on the street was that language was requested by the construction industry to amend this bill to clarify license qualifier responsibilities. The qualifier responsibilities in 7068 of the Business and Professions Code, but it has not been amended. We understand it may still. So we're putting the word out to the board and we will absolutely update you as soon as it is amended, if it is amended. So that's the deal with that one. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a status update only. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public, Shelley?
Seeing none.
Thank you. We're on SB 607 Roth, Professions and Vacations. Please turn to page 208, SB 607. We're excited to report that this bill includes CSLB's necessary fee statute increase. Thank you, staff, for your diligent work in getting this increase into the bill. It will authorize CSLB to raise renewal, applicant, license maintenance, and transaction fees as necessary to support our special fund. It gives us the ability to meet our approved budgetary spending authority and develop a 4-month spending reserve over the next 4 or 5 years. The fee increases themselves can be viewed in the bill itself with the link on page 208 or in the board-approved fee study on our website for the December 2020 board meeting. The bill also includes consumer protections such as an increase of the contractor's license bond from $15,000 to $25,000. Chief, do you want to comment on this at all? I'll take that as a no.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Just a public thank you to the Senate BMP staff who dealt with CSLB's incessant nagging to help with our fee this year, and also a thank you to the author's office. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Senator Roth, for your consideration. The staff recommendation is to support SB 607. Are there any questions from the board? I see no hands. Shelley, anything from the public? Oh, I'm sorry, Susan?
Yes, I do have a question because this relates back to what we voted on, the board approved last December about our reserve. So I know this is late breaking news that was included in this bill. Congratulations, that's great news. but what does this mean as far as implementing those fee increases? Is there any way to predict when that might go into effect if indeed it's approved?
Thank you, Susan. Yes, so if the bill is successful this year and signed by the governor, the enactment date would be January of 2022. So the IT staff will try to hit the ground running at the end of this year as much as they can, because it's difficult to act when a bill is not signed, but we'll need to update our fees, and meetings are already happening on that front with licensing and IT. The way that it'll work with our renewals, the renewal fee is, they're sent out like three months in advance, or 60 days in advance. So my understanding is that as it relates to the renewal fees, the first renewal to be affected would be March of 2022. But that's what we're looking at.
Very good, and thank you for your work on that.
Of course.
Chief, while you're still on, what's the next body it goes to in the assembly? Which committee?
It'll go to business and professions.
Okay. So I'd like to make a comment that any of you who would like, or any of you who belong to associations who would like to support this bill, letters of support to business and professions would be huge in moving it forward. At this time, I'd entertain a motion for staff recommendation to support SB 607. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Albanese and Diaz. Albanese and Delatorre. Any questions from the board members on the motion? Any questions from the public on the motion? Felice,
Not seeing anything.
thank you, Shelley. Felice, please call roll call.
David Delatorre,
Aye.
Kevin Albanese,
Aye.
Frank Altamira,
Yes.
Augie Beltran,
Aye.
Rodney Cobolus,
Rodney's temporarily offline.
Miguel Galarza,
Yes.
Don Giordano,
Yes.
Susan Granzella,
Aye.
Diana Love,
Aye.
Michael Mark,
Aye.
Jimmy Wayne,
Aye.
Johnny Simpson,
Aye.
Mary Tykert.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn over item C to Chair Delatorre because I have a conflict of interest.
Thank you, Augie. And to provide an overview on SB 727, I turn it back over to Mike Chemnitsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this bill deals with the liability of direct contractors in private works contracts as opposed to public works for payment of wages and other contributions if a subcontractor fails to make those payments. Mainly what we wanted to share with you was that a prior version of this bill would have included CSLB in the tracking and monitoring of direct contractor liability on these various issues. But those provisions have since been amended out. So as of how the bill is written, CSLB is not involved in the bill. But prior to it being amended, CSLB did send a letter on page 211 that shares some technical information with the author's office that we did want to provide about CSLB's jurisdiction on this issue. So we just wanted to let the board know about the technical letter and to thank Chair David Delatorre for his help. But that is all I have on this item. It is on to the in the assembly now. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, Chair Delatorre. We're on item D, SB 757, Limon, Solar Energy System Improvements, Consumer Protection. We're now on page 212 for review of Senate Bill 757. This bill provides additional protections for consumers who contract for the installation of solar energy systems. It clarifies that solar energy systems are considered home improvement. and that home improvement salespersons must identify themselves as registered to the contractor for whom they are making a sale. It also clarifies that the restriction on accepting payment in advance of work performed on a home improvement contract extends to such payments from lenders or financiers. Chief, would you like to share anything else on this bill?
Just that it is already on its way to Assembly B&P, and the bill does include, as Mr. Chair stated, additional consumer protections in the solar industry, which has obviously been a significant topic lately. So the staff recommendation is a support, but I don't have much else to add to what the Chair, Chel Beltran, stated. Thanks.
Thank you. Staff recommendation is support of 757. Before we take a motion, are there any comments from the board? Shelley, are there any comments from the public?
I am not seeing any hand raises, nor requests from the chat or Q&A.
Thank you.
Hold
Chair-
on once.
Go ahead.
Nope, none.
Sounds good. At this time, the chair would entertain a motion from the board members.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Did you get that, Felice?
Yeah, Dana Torrey and Diana Love.
Perfect. All righty. So on the motion to support SB 757, are there any questions from the public?
I
Any
am not
questions?
seeing any at this time.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Felice, please call roll.
David Delatorre,
Aye.
Kevin Albanese,
Aye.
Frank Altamura,
Yes.
Augie Beltran,
Aye.
According to the
Rodney Cobos,
This is Dave again. Rodney is participating, however, he is muted. He did vote yes on SB 727. He's using the chat feature, so if we could perhaps use that for his vote. Thanks.
okay. Miguel Galarza,
Yes.
Don Giordano,
Yes.
Susan Granzella,
yes,
Diana Love,
Yes.
Michael Mark,
Aye.
Jimmy Wayne,
Yes.
Johnny Simpson,
Yes.
Mary Tykert.
yes.
Mary?
I think
Yes.
she responded yes to it.
Sorry, I'm muted again. Yep, yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. On to our last item, E, SB 826, Committee on Business, Professions, and Economic. Am I looking at this right? Senate Bill 826. We're now on page 213 for review of Senate Bill 826. This bill is the Senate Business and Professions Committee's annual and omnibus bill for technical, non-substantive changes to the law. This year, the bill includes 4 recommendations approved by the board. Can you tell us those 4 recommendations or refresh our mind there, Chief?
Yes, they are all on page 213, and as the bill title indicates, they are technical, non-substantive changes. One clarifies that the CSLB is no longer hiring enforcement representatives, they are hiring special investigators. Another clarifies that the C-22 asbestos abatement contractor, which is created in regulation, not statute, is authorized to do asbestos work. Believe it or not, that wasn't in statute. It will hopefully be after this bill. We fixed a typo in our disclosure laws, the laws that relate to publicly disclosing complaints against contractors. And we fixed a typo in the solar disclosure document as it relates to the period of cancellation of a contract for those over 65. These are all technical and non-substantive, and that's what I have, Mr. Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions from the board? And Rodney, I'm looking at your chat, so if you want to ask a question, go ahead and type in. I see none. Shelley, anything from the public?
I'm not seeing any hand raises nor requests through the chat or Q&A.
Wonderful. Staff recommendation is to support Senate Bill 826. The chair would entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Sounded like Ruane and Delatorre.
Yes.
Thank you. Any board comment on the motion? Any public comment on the motion?
Seeing none.
Wonderful. Feliz, please call roll.
David Delatorre,
Aye.
Kevin Albanese,
Aye.
Frank Altamura,
Yes.
Augie Beltran.
Aye.
Ronnie will respond in chat. Miguel Galarza.
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
Don Giordano,
Yes.
Susan Granzilla,
Aye.
Diana Love,
Aye.
Michael Mark,
Aye.
Jim Wayne,
Aye.
Johnny Simpson,
Aye.
Mary Tykert.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Once again, congratulations to our new executive board. Kevin, I will miss you in our discussions, but you've got my phone number, and I know Nancy's not on the board right now or online, but I am definitely going to miss her wise and sage advice and conversation. With that, board chair, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Augie and Mike, for that update. So before I call for adjournment, this is the my last meeting as chair. So I'd like to thank Registrar David Fote, Vice Deputy Registrar Tanya Corcoran, Jason Hurtado, Mike Chemnensky, and the moderator, Shelby Jones, for your advice, support, and then helping me avoid stepping on any landmines during my tenure as board chair. I also like to thank, and it's important to always acknowledge the work that the departments under the CSLB umbrella do. Your work is definitely not overlooked. Along with the entire CSLB staff. Your work is greatly appreciated, and I look forward to Susan Granzella's tenure. All right, thank you so much. And any board member care to comment?
David?
I'd just like to say thank you for all the very kind words, Augie. Thank you. And this has been a really fun and proud time of my life to be part of this board. There still may be a chance, I guess, Nancy and I, depending on the governor's appointment process, you may see us at the next meeting, but I think that's up in the air. But I wish everybody the best, and really proud to be leaving with 3 women in charge of the board. Congratulations to the new folks coming in. David, hell of a job leading us through a pandemic. I mean, I don't know what the hell else to say. But it could not have been easy, but you did a heck of a job at the helm. So congratulations and thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate that. Okay.
David, this is Johnny. I just wanted to say thank you, man, for leading our board during a very difficult time and, with the online meetings and all of that. So thank you for a job well done, brother.
I appreciate that, and I look forward to meetings in person again. So.
David, this is Diana. I want to say thank you for your tenure as well. And I look forward to your advice and everything you have to offer to continue with CSLB in the future. Thank you. And I look forward to Kevin coming back again as well, if that is to happen.
Thank you, Secretary-elect Diana Love. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And David, this is Susan Granzilla, and I wanted to say thank you very much. I can't imagine what it was like starting out having online meetings. And I'm looking forward to seeing people in person and actually being able to recognize faces and work together. But David, you did a marvelous job this last year, and thank you very much.
Appreciate that, Susan. Thank you.
David, this is Mary. I'd like to echo the appreciation and also the leadership that you've demonstrated in keeping us all on track, being agile and resilient in the face of all this. So much appreciated.
Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it.
Hey, David, Jim Ruane, just on top of what everyone else said, and the pandemic thrown into it all, you did a great job. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, that was all.
David, this is Michael Mark, echoing all the statements. I've actually never had an in-person board meeting. This whole experience has been new to me. I appreciate your leadership going through these next steps, and I will state congrats to all the new officers. You guys are going to do a very, very great job for the consumers and California residents. Thank you.
Great. Okay. So with that, I call for adjournment then. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
You too.